Good morning and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 164 of 2025, and I'm continuing the story of Seabiscuit. George Wolfe rides the race where Seabiscuit beats War Admiral, and George ends up jockeying Seabiscuit in a number of other races because Red Pollard is pretty messed up. The doctor says Red Pollard will walk, but he will never ride again. Now imagine having spent your entire life riding horses. It's your passion. It's what you do. And now you're, lamed up to the point where you can't. Red Pollard was an interesting character. His early life, when the Depression began, his parents, they basically gave him away in a certain way, as I guess parents were doing that were really down and out. Now, they had been doing quite well. His father was a brick maker, but when, something happened, maybe it was right before the Depression, I think that there was a flood, and it flooded the brick factory. Of course, there was no insurance back then. And so this guy's completely down and out. And he had a number of children. And Red was an incredible horse person from his early age. He was also very knowledgeable. He loved stories and had books that he carried around with him that his father had given him when he had sent Red off to work for this one horse trainer. So that he wouldn't have to take care of him anymore. Red Pollard never really recovered from the anger that he felt from having been abandoned by his parents. Because of this, he got into some pretty strange things. Like in order to make money, he was a fighter, boxer, and got pretty beat up, but made money in the process. And it's not, some people say it was in one of those boxing matches that he lost his vision. Other people say it was in a riding accident, but he lost the vision in his right eye. And this was significant as a jockey because if you're riding horses, it's kind of important that you can see out both sides in order to know what's happening around you. Now, Red Pollard kept this as a secret for a long time. And even when he started writing for Charles Howard and Tom Smith, they did not know that he couldn't see out of that one eye. And I think it was in the, it might have been the Santa Maria or the Santa Margarita. I can't remember. There was some race, the Santa Anita race, which it was $100,000 race. So it was a lot of money back there. That was basically, like $1 million of today. This was a huge race. And in this race, Red Pollard was jockeying, and this was before he'd had his accident and run with War Admiral, but he was running this race. And because he couldn't see out of his right eye, there was a horse that came up. My horse's name may have been Rosemont, and it passed right at the finish line. It passed Seabiscuit up to win the race. And this was a huge, blow to the whole crew. So anyway, after the whole accident, the win over War Admiral, Seabiscuit is going to get in this race again. Now, before all of this had happened, Seabiscuit had strained a ligament. It had somewhat ruptured. The veterinarian, it was during a race, George Wolfe was riding Seabiscuit in this race, and he felt Seabiscuit stumble. And he immediately, being the smart horse person that he was, reined Seabiscuit in, got off of him immediately, and then, brought him in. And Seabiscuit was lame at this point. The veterinarian who came and saw him suggested or offered to Charles Howard that he would put him down, and said that Seabiscuit would never race again. And I'll stop this story here.